Hi there. All right, welcome back to Becoming Jerry Pujals, and here I am once again with you. Today, I'm going to do things a little bit different than I've done for the last two episodes. Today is episode 3. Primarily, the topic is going to be around choosing peace over performance, maybe choosing peace over revenue, and making self-worth about results and money, which has been a big thing in my life. I'm going to, in this episode, read a little bit of what I wrote last night. I spent some time working on a script for this, but in the spirit of trying to maybe create a framework that might be better understood, I thought I'd go from my notes, and it might not be quite as organic, but it might be more succinct, if that's how you say that word. You know, I'm a Puerto Rican that does not, my first language is still Spanish, so I think I still get a pass for missing a word here and there. So I want to give myself that pass because I've been really hard on myself for not knowing every single word of the English language. On my next episode, I want to talk about, the rise and fall of different aspects, different times in my life and building wealth and losing everything and building it again and losing everything again and then building it again. And this has been a cycle of probably 4 to 6 times that I've gone through cycles. And I know a lot of people can relate to that. So that's what I'll talk about on the next episode. This episode is about the shift that I'm making right now. From living for people's approval to living to getting to a life where I can live for my own approval. That's something that it's going to be a long and challenging process for me. I mentioned the other day that I wonder why I do these things and what is the end game, what is the goal, and what is it that I'm trying to do, and am I really altruistic and trying to be of service? And I can't say yes at this point, but I do believe one thing is that as I peel back the onion, I believe I can get there. So that's going to be something that we'll just have to wait and see, and time will be my friend in that regard, because what I do notice is that time is the great equalizer. The more I give space for things to happen and materialize, the more they seem to do that for me. So I have to be patient, and that's not an easy ask. So what I'm trying to do is go from external validation to internal validation, and that's something that I just recently learned. And by internal validation, I also realized that I need to work from the inside. There are a couple of things and a couple of ideas that I have for doing inner work. I actually loved a text that my mom sent me this morning, because my mom knows a lot about doing deep work. My mom has been involved in yoga most of my life, and she's done a deep practice in various vasanas and silent retreats and has also followed a Swami, and at this point I think she's right up there herself and trying to help people gain clarity and peace of mind and peace with themselves. So what she sent me this morning, she asked me if I've ever done a Vasana retreat, which basically you go somewhere and you no technology, no anything, just silence for 10 days. And my answer was no. I've never done 10 days. I've done 1 day, and I can probably keep my mouth closed for about 8 hours, but much more than that, I start bursting out of my seams, and that's where I know the work lies, is in doing that deep work, and I'm looking forward to exploring that. So I'm already checking that out, Mom. So I'll just let you know that if you happen to ever be watching this show, because I have a feeling that you are because of that text that I got this morning. So thank you for that. One of the hardest things for me, I think, is going to be in not seeking external validation, and like I already said, it's going to take some work. One of the things that I wrote down is what external validation looks like for me. For most of my life, I needed applause to feel like I mattered. So when I was a little boy, I would get, when I would clean my room, I would get a pat on the back for cleaning my room. When I would fold the clothes, I would get a pat on the back or some compliment for folding my clothes. When I ate the whole plate of food, I would get just an amazing response from whoever was around me as to how good I ate, which did only one thing, made me want to eat more. When it came to keeping my room clean, it made me want to clean my room more. And when I folded clothes, my clothes looked like they're folded at Nordstrom. So I became obsessive about all that, but it was all being done for external validation. And I think that's the way that we sort of build those neural pathways to realize what things feel good and how we get something out of doing something for ourselves. But what happened later on is when I didn't get it for things like, going to school or getting good grades or things like that. When I didn't get that for doing those things, then I would stop doing them. I would just think, well, if there's no validation to that, there's no reason in doing that. And then part of my issue became I started seeking validation from whoever I was working from rather than my family. If I wasn't getting validation from my family, I'd seek it elsewhere. And that's where I would just work really hard. I would outwork everybody. If we had a 40-hour-a-week job, I would work 7 days a week for the same amount of pay, just so somebody would say, man, you really are a hard worker, and it would validate that I was working hard. I wrote here, whether it was family, clients, strangers, social media, I needed someone else to tell me, you're enough, you did good, we're proud of you. And that was the trap. When you need someone else's approval, you can never relax because the applause can stop. The likes can dry up. This is another thing I have to be very careful with in doing this work that I'm doing with using this as a creative outlet to exhale, meaning this particular YouTube channel. I have to be careful to not fall into the trap of the likes, the pats on the back, the thumbs up, the heart emojis, all those things that feel good as something that fills me. I have to figure out how to do that and how to do this work for me. And if somebody gains something by me doing it, I think that's wonderful. Ultimately, I like to think that that's why I'm doing it. I just don't know that I'm there yet. So what I think has happened before is the moment people stopped cheering, then I stopped believing in myself, and then I would just stop doing the activity. And that's just an exhausting and brutal way to live. And I realize that now because I've lived that way for not years, but for decades. The other thing that I want to talk about a little bit is the scoreboard. So keeping tally on when I do something for somebody. So I measured my worth by numbers. I measured my worth by commission checks. I measured my worth by trophies and plaques on the walls. I measured my success by sales rankings, where I ranked up or down, up, top, middle, or bottom of a leaderboard when you measure performance against other people. I measured success by square footage of a house. How big is my house compared to your house? I measured success by cars, vineyard, lifestyle, what we drank, where we went out to, what restaurants were we seen at, what vacations, what destinations. And don't get me wrong, I worked really hard for all that, but the scoreboard was never satisfying. That just never satisfied me because there just wasn't an end to it. Even when I hit number one salesperson in real estate for Napa County for a bunch of years in a row, I was left feeling very alone at the top of that mountain, and I was definitely left feeling, or I found myself asking the question, is this all there is? Because it wasn't, the destination was not happiness, the destination was not an arrival, it was just more of the same, which was just basically a repetitive grind, and it was not fulfilling. So I write down here, okay, so what's next? What's next is for me to work on the moments that actually really matter. So, you know, how do I stay present in the moments that really matter? And that's where I come back to working with a deep meditation, deep prayer, and staying in that discomfort to realize that these feelings that I have right now are really where I'm living at the moment, and that I have a lot to be grateful for, and that's where gratitude jumps in, and I do have a lot to be grateful for, and a lot of that has been said by work that's been laid brick by brick by brick over the last 40 plus years. So I wrote this down. The question that changed my life. One day I asked myself a question that that had avoided most of my life. Do I like how I'm showing up? So I'm gonna say, not do they like me, not am I impressive, not what do people think, but do I respect the man I am when no one is watching? And the truth was, I haven't been respecting the man that I am while nobody's watching. I have achieved all these goals, but where I feel like there's a shift right now inside me is that I'm ready to surrender that person who I've been, and I'm looking forward to moving towards an area of release, and letting go of, am I impressive, do they like me, and what do people think? Because that's where that need for validation has always been sort of on loop. It's just been constantly on loop, and it's like for those of you who are my age know what a record is, and if a record gets scratched, it just keeps playing the same line over and over again. And I definitely feel like there is a change happening. I'm definitely more present when I talk to others, and I'm listening more intensely than I ever have, but I still recognize that I have a long way to go. So I want to start working on rebuilding from the inside. Internal validation is going to be a new skill for me. It's basically me learning to clap for myself. And I know many people can do that, but I don't know if the majority of the people can do that. And if you can, let me know if you can, or let me know if that's challenging for you. If it's challenging for you to show up for yourself, I'd love to know what other people are going through in that regard. So I want to do different things. I want my scoreboard to look different. I wrote this down last night. I wrote down, some of the areas where I want to check in is I want to check in and see if I had peace today. Did I choose peace today over conflict? The other question I want to ask myself daily is, did I honor my values? Did I stay in line with my value? The other question I wrote down is, did I show up with love? I still get my feelings hurt when I put together something at the house for the kids to come over and one of the kids can't make it or something changes, and I still feel like I'm owed something, and if I did a lot of work in preparing for a certain day for them to come over, if I get the phone call, oh, we can't make it, or somebody is not around, I definitely get my feelings hurt and start to ask myself, what did I do wrong, or do they possibly just not like me? And that's that self-deprecating thing that I've done for many years that I want to work through. And just really ask myself, am I really showing up with love? And can I just be at peace with the fact that they just couldn't come, and the reason really doesn't even matter, is they just couldn't come, and I do know that my kids love me, and I know that as I transition and I become a better person, they'll get closer, if I just surrender. The more I try to control and the more I try to keep all that, the more that backfires. So I am here to just declare that. When I surrender, I really find that I win. I don't even have to prove my worth anymore, and I get to live just lighter in my soul. So over here, I wrote this down. I wrote, the fruits of peace. So let me tell you what I've noticed when I stop just keeping myself busy and I can just let go and surrender. I have the ability to start feeling. I can literally feel things. And lately I've been walking around almost like with a fraction of a tear in my eye most of the time. And it's kind of sounds weird to say it, but I believe that that's happening because of whatever transition I'm going through is sort of breaking something or cracking, kind of like an eggshell cracking. And I find that cracking is some kind of a release going on that's allowing me to feel feelings that I couldn't feel, that I've been suppressing for many years, to be that high achiever, high performer that I've been, and that I thought I needed to serve me and serve my family. So when I stop performing, I wrote this down, I can connect. The minute I stop performing, I literally can connect with people, and beautiful things tend to happen. When I stop needing the world's approval, I start hearing my own voice again. And that's been unique lately, and that's an experience that I haven't had in a long time. I laugh more. I was on the phone with my wife yesterday, and I was saying something to her in regards to our date night. And I knew my daughter, my 36-year-old daughter, was next to her. But, I think my daughter's an adult. She can handle anything. And I said something probably a little bit too much for a daughter to hear in regard to how excited I was to see my wife when she got home. And right away my daughter went, ew, And I don't remember the last time I laughed so hard, because I just realized how funny that was to me. And what I love the most is when my wife said, "Oh my goodness, I haven't heard your dad laugh that loud in a long time." And I felt that at that moment there was a release that felt like relief, letting those things go and being more authentic with that moment, that it was just me being loving to my wife and just being excited that she was coming home and that we were going to get to hang out together no matter what happened, I breathe more. I feel like I become a better father and a better grandfather when I'm doing that, but I certainly become a more real human being, and this is my favorite version of myself that I'm finding myself enjoying. So some of the last things that I wrote, that I wanted to say this clearly, that I am enough even when I'm not achieving. And for me, my entire life, achievement has always been tied into accomplishment. Accomplishment has always been a necessary instrument to survive, because if you're not making a lot of money, you're not winning, and if you're not winning, that would mean that you're a loser, and it was very black and white for me. So I'm surrendering that, and that's gonna take a while too. So the other thing that I'm learning is that I don't have to keep hustling to be loved. I don't have to perform to be worthy. And I don't need applause to have value. And as I say that to myself, I'm certainly saying it to those who might need to hear that for themselves is, you don't have to hustle to be loved, you don't have to perform to be worthy, and you don't need applause to have value. Internal validation is the ability to look in the mirror and say, I'm proud of who I am becoming. And the fact of the matter is that the journey I'm on right now is becoming. I'm Jerry, and this is Becoming Jerry Pujals. I just want to close by saying thank you if you stayed this far. Thank you for staying this far. And this will do nothing but lead us to the next episode, which is where I will talk a little bit about some of the ups and downs that have led me to becoming Jerry. And I'm sure in future episodes we're going to talk about that continued surrender. And surrendering is only a way to find a path to head to where I'm going, which it's going to be eternally becoming. Becoming doesn't mean an arrival, and that one day I'm going to wake up enlightened and all of a sudden everything is different and I'm going to be happy forever and there's never going to be struggle. Struggle, I know, is going to be with me forever because struggle lives with all of us and that we can't control. So the fact of the matter is I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that you're there, that you're listening, that you're allowing me the space to express myself and let you know where I am in my journey, and hopefully I get to meet you someday. I'm trying to connect with you through a medium that is very impersonal, is not face-to-face, and that's something that I'm having to learn as well. With that, I want to say thanks again and see you soon. Bye.